What's up, everybody? Your boy Heat Rocks back again with another video from Second Take. And today I got a response video for Dom 2K. So I've watched a couple of his videos, and the last one I watched was he's talking about, is the 90s basketball in the NBA a better version of basketball than today's version? And he makes a lot of different points. But for me, now I'm going to just be straightforward with you. I believe that 90s basketball was way better than the brand of basketball that is today. And I actually made a video maybe a couple days ago, and it's kind of odd that he brought up, I guess, I made a video about a particular rule that I think the NBA needs to instill to make the brand of basketball better, because I feel like right now, basketball, every team pretty much plays the same. There's no differences amongst teams because of the way the rules are set up. But anyway, he made a lot of good points back and forth, and I know he's trying to remain neutral. The one thing I would say is, when he brings up how in the 90s you could play one-on-one and the defender had to either commit all the way or don't commit for a double team, versus today where it's a zone where you can be all over the place. It doesn't matter. He said that being one-on-one is isolation ball, and that's not true. Being one-on-one, you have the opportunity to double team, so that's not true isolation ball. Now, the point that I want to make with this is, he said how being in a zone was more difficult, and I'm not quoting him by any chance, but the gist that I got from the video is being in a zone is more difficult to score against. Now, I totally think it's the opposite effect, and let me explain why. If the rules of the 90s had centers, he brought this up too, centers, and now how today is positionless almost, and the center has gone away for the most part. Now, if the rules in the 90s stated that a center could stay down low in the paint as long as his man was outside of the paint. So if his man was outside of the paint, just outside of the paint, and the defender was in the paint, the defender could stay there all day. The difference with today's basketball is there's a zone. So a zone defense, you can play anywhere in the court, all 5 defenders, with the exception of being in the paint. You have to get out of the paint within 3 seconds. Now, that is my thing that I think that my point that I feel he missed, or he probably failed to go over. The difference between today, well, let me say, the difference between a zone in the NBA and a zone in collegiate ball is a defender in college can literally stay in the paint. You can put all five defenders in the paint. Now, why is this important for me? Because right now, we are in a league where everything is drive and kick, drive and kick, drive and kick. And the amount of three-pointers, he actually alluded to this in his video, how the lowest the lowest amount of three-pointers that a team is taking in the NBA right now is 20. And back then in 98, he referenced to how the most three-pointers that a team has taken was 20. So the league is just flipped upside down. And I believe the driving kick is what's the purpose of it. Now, my reason in bringing up the 3-second rule with the defender is driving kick it wouldn't relish in a system where a center can hang around the paint. Because right now with the zone, you're allowed to space out the floor so far, and the defender, the center or the big man, is not allowed to stay in the paint. So he has to drift away too. And what's happening is you have guys driving to the hole, and everybody on defense has to react to crash to the paint because that center is no longer there waiting, thus allowing the rotation of the defenders to play catch-up ball as the ball is kicked out and then swung around the whole perimeter for a wide-open three-point shot. I think ISO ball is at an all-time high with zones right now, because right now offenses are allowed to go a 1 and 4. Essentially, 4 guys on the weak side, 1 guy on the strong side, go one-on-one. Now, I want to make this clear. In the 90s, this was not allowed. it was called the Michael Jordan rule. Look it up, because he was so good one-on-one. So when people say he's a great ISO player, or ISO ball was famous in the 90s, it's so untrue, because you were not allowed to have one guy on the strong side and 4 guys on the weak side. You were not allowed to have 3 offensive players on the perimeter and 2 offensive players down low. It was called an illegal offense. Look it up. Illegal offense was a thing. It is not a thing anymore. I think right now the league has gotten really boring and stagnant. And when people make a point that, hey, there are so many athletic players of today, I kind of say I don't agree. Because of the fact that there is no center in the paint, guys are free to just fly to the rim and go for a dunk. And if there's any minimal contact, guess what's happening? A foul's being called. So when guys are up there shining in the air, you know, jumping out of the gym and throwing it down, yeah, that looks good. It looks good. And I believe a lot of guys in the 90s could do it, but they couldn't because of the fact that there was a center there, so they couldn't go and just say, hey, I'm going to jump out the gym. And you know what? Hard fouls existed in the 90s. So these hard fouls of today, or these flops that people are just taking advantage of the rules, those weren't even called. Yeah, I mean, the amount of ticky-tack calls that are called today, I mean, flagrants of today were normal fouls of yesteryear. So that's kind of like all of my summation of my points for how I believe today's brand of basketball is very, it's all threes and dunks. So people kind of get lost into thinking, hey, the brand of basketball, these guys are so skilled. And they, listen, if you can shoot a 3-point shot and you can dunk, you literally can play in this era. You literally can play in this era. I don't think you could have played in the 90s like... now, I'm not saying these players couldn't play in the 90s, but their skill set would have to be entirely different, is what I'm saying. Because today's brand of basketball makes it so easy. And I think the NBA is smart because, you know, offense sells, and it also allows them to help the globalization of the game, because the European game is very similar to the NBA game, or should I say vice versa. The NBA game is very similar to the European game. And I think the NBA did that because a lot of Europeans were coming over here, and there's not many that were really good. And people say, well, they've gotten better. I don't think they've gotten better. I just think the NBA's rules have allowed the European player to flourish, because the system is designed, essentially, there's no defense being played in this league. And you can see it because NBA players don't average 3, 4, 5 blocks anymore. It's 2.5 is leading the league nowadays. And the problem with that, you can't keep a defender in the paint, man. This is why the center is gone. And I mean, I think I've covered all of it. That's my response. And Dom 2K, man, I'm not trying to be, you know, take a shot at you or anything like that, or start a beef or a war. Hey, man, I'm just making my point, man. Much love. This is your boy, Pat. Peace. Hope to catch you in the next one. I'm out.